first part of the spraying, what we want to do here is a bit of black. Now as you can see, little tip, getting a 1mm drill. Right, drill a little hole in the bottom, stick a cocktail stick up there, and basically you can nicely spray whatever piece it is you want without holding it or anything like that. It allows you to get it all sprayed. But this piece here, which is K6, this little kind of box that sits on there, we want that to be black, and then the rest of it, we want it to be this nice sort of metallic blue. So let's start off by doing a quick 50-50 mix. We only need a little bit of black going on in here. Give our, what we're going to be using here is 71057 black by Vallejo. It's a nice, quick, easy paint to use. Right, it really is kind of good for just, hopefully as you can see, we can just squeeze a couple of drops into our colour cup, nice and easy. And this paint goes on rather well. Getting a paintbrush, which just off camera, I have got like a little pot here. It is by Games Workshop. I mean, you could get cheaper ones, and just keeping our paintbrush nice and clean in clean water, and we can just give it a mix. So our 50-50 mix just nicely mixes all together. Remember to get that thinners in first, then we can check our flow. As you can see, all nice. And then what we want to do is just nicely spray this box. Now I'm not going to worry too much about over spraying here, because the colour that we're going to do, that nice metallic blue, we can just spray over this bit of black. So now that's all nice and black, we can cut to air by just pressing down the trigger, not pulling back the trigger. Right, and then we want to leave this to dry. Now we come to a bit of our interior colour, just while our black is nicely drying. Now for a good colour for our interior cockpit colour is a good XF71 cockpit green, that's Japanese cockpit green. What we're going to do is just to make sure that our paints are all nicely mixed up. I know a lot of you probably don't like doing it, but we give it a good shake. Right, nice good shake. I've done a bit of shaking off camera as well. And what we could do, we can open up our pot here, but just to make sure it's all good, right, we can give this a nice bit of a stir and get all the basically all the pigments that's sedimented on the bottom, and really try and get it nicely mixed up. Now the thing is, when you do this, I mean, we've probably got bits and kind of clumps at the bottom, and we don't want this kind of stuff getting into our airbrush. So once we've done this, we want to give it a shake and then sort of let it settle a bit. So kind of leave it for 5 minutes to kind of settle down maybe, and then pour it into your colour cup. And you might be able to notice there is a little bit thicker on the end of my paintbrush as I'm stirring, and there's a bit of a glunky bit on there as well. That's what I mean about you don't want that kind of stuff getting in your airbrush. But getting this all mixed up, it just gives you all the goodness of the paint, so to speak. Because if you've really got it sedimenting at the bottom, this could be, you know, more thinners than it could be paint. You know, so you really want to get it back to the way it was when it was first manufactured. Alright, so we'll give that a good shake now. Put my paintbrush in our pot, so give it a good shake, and then we just want to leave it for maybe a couple of minutes just to let those big clunky bits that we don't want to be pouring into our airbrush to settle down. So while we're doing that, we can get our homebrew thinners, and we can do a nice bit of a 50-50 mix. We're not going to need too much, and all we want to spray here is we just want to spray this bit of the cockpit area, and all this is going to be like a nice metallic blue. So I wanted to kind of do the metallic blue last because it's a bit of a process to do that. So if we can do this now and then we can sort of let that dry, and we do a bit of masking. So again, like a nice 50-50 mix, and we simply just pour this into our pot to about a 50-50 mix, get in our paintbrush again, and we give this a good stir, make sure it's all good, Put that back in our water pot, put our lid back on, and then checking our flow, making sure the paint's coming out the way you want it. There we go, it doesn't seem to be kind of spluttering or anything like that. And then what we want to do, right where our cockpit area is here, we just kind of want to build up our paint. So if you can see, that's a nice light misty coat going on there. We can cut to air, quickly dry it. You'll find that Tamiya really does dry very, very quickly, so we can literally, as quick as that, come along and put on a nice light coat straight after that. And then we just want to get around any bumpy areas like so. Now I'm cutting back to where, and hopefully you can see this is actually drying off you know, quite quickly again. But we can move along to our other piece while we let it dry, because we don't want to be putting coats on, you know, wet coats on top of wet coats, because that's where you get cracking of paint. Alright, you want to kind of make sure it's dry. But as I say, with Tamiya it does dry very quickly, so you don't really have to worry about it too much. So I'm going to build up this final layer for our cockpit green, which should do it quite nicely now. Just checking XF71. Also on the top as well, we can do this bit of the top as well, XF71 as well. So don't forget to do that. So that's all ready for when we kind of put the canopy on. Below for you, as you can see now, that's got a nice bit of coverage just on there. So we just need to do the other one, let that dry. Now that's dried, what I like to do when I know I'm going to put masking tape on top of paint is I like to get out my Future. Now this product, there is a product review on Future and those kind of products, a nice floor cleaning product. And what I do, I decant it into this nice little pot where I can easily pour it into an airbrush. Now we can just pour this in neat, there's no need for thinners or anything like that. We just pour it in neat, we don't need too much, so nice little bit in there. What I like to do, I don't like to go off and do some sort of a heavy sort of nice gloss protective coat. It's just a nice light misty coat, nice and quickly. Dry it off by pressing down the trigger. Right, and then we can just put a nice normal light coat on there. That's it, we don't want to go mental. It only needs that little bit of a nice little bit of a coat that it just seems to lock it in nice enough that when you put stuff like masking tape on top and everything, that it just sort of locks it in. It kind of helps prevent all that peeling or anything coming up onto the masking tape or anything like that. And hopefully, as you can see, it's just got a bit more of a shine to it. It's looking a bit sort of satin now. But as I say, we don't need to go off and put some sort of, you know, 3 coats of Future on and really sort of seal it in and all this kind of stuff. We don't want to really kind of do that. It's just a nice, kind of basically 2 misty coats really. Should just get it just nice. We leave that for about 15-20 minutes to dry, and then we can get on with some masking. With that dried now, what we can do is we can go off, get our Tamiya masking tape. I'm using the 16mm one here, and what we want to do is we just want to, well, first off we can just get the tape, put it on the back of the palm of our hand just to make it a little less tacky, because we don't want any peeling at this stage. And what we're going to do is right where our line is here, where basically the why we want our canopy green to start and end. Alright, we just put this nice simple line right across there, just like so. There we go. And then we need to do another one this side as well, and it's just a nice straight line right across, just like so. Right, and then we can simply, nice and easily, just get our Tamiya masking tape and just fill the rest in. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, neat, or take your time over it. Just get it down nice and easily like so. And we just need to then do the same to the other half. But then over here we have our little black box that we've got going on here. So we're going to need a bit smaller tape and our scissors this time. Some nice sharp scissors. And getting our 6mm Tamiya masking tape, we want to get a nice bit off. But then what we want to do, we just want to cut so we've got a nice little angle there. So we've got a nice clean finish. And what we want to do is right in the corner. Want to get that right in there, nice and neat, and then we simply fold that over like so. And we may as well cut that just about there and use what we've already got, using again that nice little point to then line up with our other point as nice and neatly as you possibly can, like so, and then just wrap that around. And there we go, that is now basically nice and neatly masked that up. And then we've got a little bit of masking tape on there, may as well use it all up. Probably just need one last little bit here now, just to finish that off. Quickly cut this, fold that over, and there we go, a nice little black box, nice, quick and easily masked up. So I'm just going to quickly go off camera and do the other side of our fuselage. So what we want to do now is we want to do this nice metallic blue. Now there are metallic blues out there that you could probably actually buy, but for the first time ever I actually don't have that colour, which is kind of amazing. So we've got to do a bit of a process here to make this colour, which is quite a nice process anyway. I'm just shaking up A6M2b lacquers airframe aluminium, which is ALC119. Give it a damn good shake, make sure you get everything off the bottom. Right, that's all the good stuff that you want. Then getting your airbrush and making it about the 10 psi mark. Right, what we want to do is we just want to open up our A6M2b paint and we want to pour it in. Start off with a nice bit, put the lid back on because it is lacquers and they evaporate like there's no tomorrow. Check your flow, and what we want to do is we want to spray all our areas that we want this nice metallic blue to be sprayed. Right, remember, starting off with that nice light misty coats, dry it off, and they really do dry really quickly. We can go from one coat to the next. This stuff dries really quickly, especially when you put that cut to wear, sorry. And as you can see, that is silvering up, and there you go. Wow, this is the one thing about it, it just you go through this stuff like there is no tomorrow. And every time you fill up, make sure you give it a good shake, because it really does sediment on the bottom really quickly. Right, so open that up, we'll pour some more in there, a bit more than before. Put the lid back on, and then we can get spraying again. Now don't worry about that bit of green, you might have noticed there's a bit of green. I'm not worrying about it too much because we are going to put a colour on top of this. Right, because it does cover it up quite well. Now you might not want to worry about this too much, because inside here, I mean, I know I'm spraying all of this, but we're probably not even going to remotely see hardly any of this, but I'm just covering all my bases here. And then we do the front. Just the same, nice light misty coat starting off with, but make sure you kind of come on the underside as well, just on in there. That little bit there also needs to be our bluey colour. cut to air and keep building up the coats. Alright, so I'm going to do that with both of our hull sections. There's this top bit of the fuselage, there's this little bit here that we've masked up as well. We want to get that nicely sprayed as well, and then there's this kind of like I think it's oxygen tanks, I do believe. Yeah, oxygen bottles, and then there's this piece here to do with the rear landing gear. So let's get these sprayed up all nice and airframe aluminium. Now that our natural metal finish is nicely sprayed on there, what we want to do, we want to get some Alclad's 2 lacquer based airbrush cleaner. Now it's good to use this stuff because let's face it, most of us will probably only have 1 or 2 airbrushes, and when you're using acrylics and then you go off and use these lacquer paints, you will need to make sure your airbrush is clean from either acrylics or lacquers, because when they mix, they don't mix at all very well. So you know, same usual technique. We've poured in a bit of our airbrush cleaner. We put kitchen paper towel on the end of the nozzle, push the trigger down for air. In fact, we could probably put our air pressure up to about 20 now. Push down for air and then pull back the trigger so we get these bubbles, as you can see. And what that's doing, just like you're washing up liquid where you get all the bubbles and everything, bubbles are all good for cleaning. So we're just bubbling away there, letting it clean, but we're not blasting it through the needle end. We're going to turn it upside down so gravity works for us, comes down the colour cup end and brings out any big bits out our big colour cup end, rather than spraying it through that tiny little needle and ending up with all sorts of blockages. So you may want to do that again. Now this stuff is quite potent, so you probably want your extractor fans on as well when doing it, especially when bubbling. And we keep bubbling, and hopefully, as you can see, it's looking, you know, quite clean in there now. So we could probably tip that up, give it another clean around our airbrush, and then we could probably start spraying our stuff through. Now we are going to be going back to acrylic based paint, so what I like to do is, after cleaning it with acrylic based airbrush cleaner, I like to get out my acrylic based airbrush cleaner. Sorry, I think I said acrylic cleaner, but that's lacquer cleaner that I was just using. So getting out our acrylic for acrylic paints like Tamiya and all them lot, then I like to give this a clean from the lacquer based airbrush cleaner, right, just to get our airbrush really starting to think acrylic paints again, getting it really clean. Right, and hopefully that should be good. Now this next stage, right, we're going to be looking at making that nice bluey sort of green metallic looking finish. So what we're going to do is we're going to get out X23 and X25. Now these are clear paints, they're not like a gloss green and a gloss blue, they're clear blue and clear green. Now what we want is a 2:1 ratio. So getting our paintbrush here, making sure it's clean, just quickly cleaning it off camera, 1 second. And what we want to do, give it a good shake, give them both a good shake, just giving them a good shake off camera. Right, getting our blue, and what we want to do is, as I say, a 2:1 ratio. So what that basically means is there's no, you don't have to get very kind of scientific with this. I'm just getting 1 dollop of blue, another dollop, another dollop, and another dollop. So we've got 4 dollops with a paintbrush of our clear blue. Right, and actually what I should have done, sorry, I should have put in a bit of thinners first. So 50-50 mix of thinners, remember. Put the lid back on here. Then we get out, well, first off we clean off our paintbrush because we don't want to contaminate our pots, because we're going to be dipping again. Get in our green, good shake, open it up, and then we do the same, but this time we put 2 dollops, because remember it's a 2-to-1 ratio, so the 2-to-1 is basically 4 dollops of blue to 2 dollops of the green, so 4 blue, 2 green, and then we mix it all together. It's looking a little bit thick, so I'm just going to get a little bit more of our thinners. Right, now we are mixing here, so we've got to remember this ratio, and that is looking quite good. Right, so put our brush over to clean, put our lid back on, and then what should happen, fingers crossed, is we go off and we check our flow. We need to knock the air pressure down a bit to about 20 psi, and then what we can do is we just start off with a nice light mister coat on this. Right, I'm doing it all over, nice light mister coat. Right, and as you can see, we're starting to see this nice metallic blue appear. Cut into air, and then we can come along and put on a nice normal light coat. All over. And then we can cut to air again. Should dry pretty quick. And that's hopefully this final last little coat here should do it. Now this is going to be the tricky part, is knowing when to stop. Right, because if we put too many coats on this, we're going to lose that nice natural metal finish shining through that we've just put on, and we don't really want to lose that. So there you go. Hopefully from what you can see there, you know, that is a nice way of building up a nice kind of natural metal finish by simply going off, putting down a nice sort of aluminium colour and using those clear paints, mixing them the way you want it, and you can end up with some really nice natural metal finishes of some nice bright colours. Now admittedly I'm looking at a camera and it's looking quite green, but actually looking at it with the Mark 1 eyeball, you know, that is looking, you know, a nice bluey green that we want. So I'm just going to spray all the rest now, this nice colour. Now we can unmask, so let's just get this masking tape off, and hopefully what you'll see is we have nicely split these colours up. So what we have is our cockpit section, all nice kind of interior green going on, and we've got this lovely natural metal finish going on in there. Now what we want to do, we want to glue, well, first off, I mean, there is lots of kind of brush painting to come when we construct the cockpit, but I've basically just gone off quickly and I've just done some flat base painting for little bits and bobs that go here and there, as you can see. But we want to glue them on. Now when it comes to gluing them on, using Tamiya extra thin cement. Now if you've watched the product review stroke tutorial on these two different glues for welding our stirring plastic together, you will see that actually Mr. Cement S is the one that evaporates the quickest. Now because we're going to be now gluing together pieces that have been painted onto pieces that have been painted, we don't want this kind of glue hanging around on the surface for too long because it's going to melt the paint and all this kind of stuff. We want something that's just going to glue where we're gluing, and anything that maybe kind of gets onto the paint will just evaporate quickly and not do any damage. So what we want to do is our first piece here, which as you can see I've unmasked. Now the reason why I did mask this piece up is because as you can see you get such a nicer, sharper, better finish than if we went off and sprayed this all this nice blue metallic and then tried to paint hand brush this little box here. It looks so much nicer and neater by spraying that black and masking up. And what we're going to do, we're just going to place it where this piece is supposed to go, and then what we're going to do, getting our Cement S, if we just get the lid off, getting our cement S, and what we're going to do is just nice and carefully put bits of this glue into position. Right, and we want to be careful because, as I say, if we get it onto where the paint is, it's going to basically, it'll rehydrate the paint and make it all mushy and gooey and all that kind of stuff. So we just want to be careful as we put it down. I mean, you don't really want to be brushing it or anything like that, because that is just going to bring it up. Just like so. So what we want to do now is just want to go around, and I want to kind of glue on all these other little bits here and there on this.